What's up guys, Frazier here for Complex News. At the beginning of every NBA season, NBA fans are filled with expectations. No matter how crazy it might sound, they want their team to make a real run to the NBA Finals, and they want all of the players on their team to contribute during it. From the superstar putting up 25 a night to the free agent who signed a $10 million per year contract in the summer, they expect greatness from their squad. But unfortunately, not everyone can win in the NBA, and more often than not, most NBA fans end up being disappointed with their teams at the end of the season, especially now that the Golden State Warriors have essentially started a dynasty that will see them bring home a handful of NBA titles in the coming years. Most NBA fans also end up being disappointed by the guys on their team. They can't believe that the star player had the nerve to go down with a season-ending injury just a few days into the season, or that the free agent who got paid way too much money ended up being a bust. As a result, there are always a handful of NBA players who are complete disappointments every season. This season is no different, as there are more than a dozen NBA players who have disappointed their fans for one reason or another. Take Markelle Fultz, for example. 76ers fans were so excited to land the top pick in 2017 NBA draft last June, many thought he'd prove to be the final piece in the trust the process plan. But he struggled with a lingering shoulder injury all season, and in a baffling twist of fate, he seems to have forgotten how to shoot the ball. No one is quite sure what to make of Fultz's lackluster production thus far, but Sixers fans are worried, to say the least. Kawhi Leonard is another guy who's been a disappointment this season due to an injury. Although it's hard to blame him for it, Kawhi has played in just 9 games this season because of an injured quad. And to make matters worse, there have been some reports about him possibly wanting out of San Antonio at some point in the near future, which has Spurs fans very worried. Now the team is fortunately playing well without him, but if he doesn't return this year, or if he's only a shell of himself when he returns, it could mean an early exit for the Spurs in the postseason. Carmelo Anthony probably doesn't have to worry too much about the Oklahoma City Thunder getting bounced early in the playoffs this year. After some early season struggles, Melo, Paul George, and of course Russell Westbrook seem to have found their groove and are playing much better. But Melo hasn't quite put the Thunder into the super team category like most people thought he would. He's averaging less than 20 points per game for the first time in his 15-year career, and it just doesn't look like the Thunder are going to be on the same level as the Warriors or the Houston Rockets once the postseason rolls around. Another guy who's averaging a lot fewer points as well as a lot fewer rebounds and assists per game this season is Nicolas Batum. Batum is in the second year of a 5-year, $120 million contract, which means he should be an all-star helping the Charlotte Hornets reach their potential. But instead, Batum has seen a dramatic drop in his output this season. After averaging 15.1 points, 6.2 rebounds, and 5.9 assists per game last season, he's averaging just 12 points, 4.3 rebounds, and 4.7 assists per game this season. That's not enough from a guy collecting $22 million for 82 games. And speaking of guys who aren't living up to the hype, Jahlil Okafor is starting to look more and more like a guy who could be out of the league before long, just a few years after the Sixers spent the number 3 overall pick on him in the draft. When Okafor was traded to the Nets back in December, most people thought the fresh start in Brooklyn would be exactly what he needed. But he's only averaging about 13 minutes of playing time per game this season, and he's playing on one of the worst teams in the entire NBA. So if he can't get playing time in that scenario, is there really much hope for his future in the league? Now, the good thing for all of these players is that there's still time to turn it around. They have about 30 games left, which is more than enough time to end their struggles. But at the moment, they look like they're going to go down as some of the biggest disappointments in the NBA this season. Now to see our complete list of the most disappointing players in the NBA, head to complex.com right now. That's the news, but for more stories in the NBA, subscribe to Complex News on YouTube. For Complex, I'm Frazier.